I see your rays, and I call. Bleed 'em and weep. Spades beat hearts every time. Oh, hello, creeps. So glad you could join me for my weekly game. My deal. Hacks and chokers are wild. Are you in? Good. So's the man in tonight's Terror Tale. Except his game is relationships. It's a ghoulish little gamble I call only skin deep.
Carl, what the hell are you doing here?
Great party, Bob. Guess my invitation got lost in the mail, huh? Am I getting warm?
Look, I just assumed that you...
I don't get a hello. I get no great costume. I don't get here's your drink.
Carl, if my wife sees you here, she's gonna kill me.
What's she got to be angry about, huh? Let me ask you something, Bob. Are you still my friend?
Yeah, of course I am.
Of course. Of course you are. Yet you believe Linda. You believe everything she told you I did.
Look, Carl, I don't know what to believe, all right? All I know is that you've got to go because Myra promised Linda you wouldn't be here tonight.
Oh, I guess Myra lied, huh? Looks like I'm gonna have to get my own drink. Where's the bar?
Carl, come on, don't do this to me.
Don't do this to you? Hey, Bob, relax, man. Just one drink. I'm out of here. Don't worry. It'll be okay. Look, no one will even know I'm here.
Unbelievable. Either you're the ballsiest guy on the planet or the stupidest.
I'm fine, Linda. How are you?
I guess I'm gonna need a court order to keep you away from me after all.
Oh, you're always so melodramatic.
Why'd you come here? What did you think was gonna happen? I was gonna see you and throw myself at your feet? You can't force people to love you. No matter how many times you hit them.
You think it's easy as that? You want out, it's over?
Yeah, I do. And it is.
You know, silly me, thinking I gave you what you deserved. If I'd done that, I'd have killed you.
Oh, that's good. Threaten me. Hit me, why don't you? Oh, better yet, strangle me like you did to what's her name? The one that came before me? Come on, hit me. Right here in front of all these people. Maybe then you won't get away with it.
All right, come on, Carl. That's enough. Time to go. Let's go.
I haven't finished my drink.
Come on.
What are you gonna do, Bob? You gonna drag me out? You're welcome to try it. You're lucky I think of you as my friend. I'm seeing you again. I missed you.
That can't be very satisfying, demolishing a dormant vegetable. Or a pumpkin's fruit.
Excuse me. I thought I was alone.
Obviously. Got quite a temper, Carl. That girlfriend of yours, she's got a set of lungs on her like Voice of America.
Ex-girlfriend.
Oh. Right. I got that.
Look, it's, you know, I'm not like she says. Certain wrongs deserve certain justifiable actions.
I don't disagree.
Thanks. Listen, not to be rude or anything, but, what are you? No, I mean, costume.
I'm a body bag. I thought the invitation said come as you are.
Well, how are you a body bag?
A synthetic shell with a corpse inside.
Yeah, well, you look pretty lively to me.
Yeah, well, don't we all? I gotta hit the road before I lose what little mind I have left. The creeps will be coming back in here any minute, and I'm so weary of being hit on.
Hey, maybe I'll see you around, huh?
Hell, tag along now if you ain't got nothing better to do.
Maybe I will.
All right.
Listen, what's your name? You know, if I'm not being too over.
You got a preference?
Always liked Molly.
What a coincidence.
It's an interesting building. Wouldn't think anybody would live here.
Yep, that's why I like it. Quiet. Private. Beats a Maytag carton. You, still drinking gin?
Yes, ma'am.
Covered above the stove. I gotta get out of this thing before I keel over. Wow. Oh. Whew. Oh, I tell ya, you could light a pack of Luckies between my thighs. Come here. Feel.
I'm thinking more like a carton. Am I wrong, or are you making sexual overtures here?
I don't do overtures. The curtain either goes up or stays down.
We gonna have sex?
Should we have sex? I don't know. I just thought I'd kick back and let the breeze take me wherever it goes. It's a shame because you were doing so well up until then. Okay, almost back on course.
Let's make a deal. We know each other's first names. We leave it at that. Huh? Nothing else. No last names, no bios, no pet peeves. Nothing. Not even faces. We leave our masks on. Anonymity in its purest form.
Let it go, babe. All of it. The hurt. The anger. Give it to me. Take it out on my flesh. Like you want to. On all of them. Hurt them like they hurt you, Carl. Hurt them. Harder. More, you dumb son of a bitch!
Molly? Christ's sakes. Molly!
Were you calling me?
Is there somebody else here?
Is there what?
Nothing. What the hell are you doing?
I'm making a stand.
Against what? I mean, okay, so you're making a stand. What are you, some kind of artist or something?
You certainly ask a lot of questions for a guy who wants it dark, dirty, and anonymous.
Sorry.
I fixed something for you. Not just the hair of the dog, but the whole goddamn dog that bit us. Go ahead, make you feel better. Guaranteed. Good boy. Oh.
You know, last night
It was only an hour ago.
Yeah, well, whatever, but it was incredible. I mean, I'm gonna be sore for a week.
Yeah, it was something, all right.
There's still a lot I want to talk about.
Such as?
What happens now?
Sleep. Deep.
Check this out. No mask.
What are you doing? We had a deal.
That was before.
Nothing's changed.
Oh, no, everything's changed. You freed me. You showed me how to let it all go, and it's gone. The anger, the need to hurt.
Congratulations.
I want to know everything about you, Molly. Every detail, right down to your shoe size.
Well, that's unfortunate, Carl. I'm not telling. I don't want you to know me.
don't belittle what happened to us last night. I mean, I'm not like the rest of them. I wouldn't hurt you. I just want to enrich an already wonderful thing. You hear me? Wake up. You will not do this to me. Wake up. I'm sorry. I'm angry at you. I don't understand. My last name is Schlag. I'm an accountant, CPA. Please.
You will not be here when I wake up. You will be gone, as in out of here, as in forever.
Goddamn bitch. Take it out on me. On my flesh. You just won the fucking lottery, baby. Come on, for Christ's sake! You got all those goddamn masks, bitch. Let's see what's under yours.
It was never a mask, Carl. It's the way I was born. Hair of the dog and a little something extra. I swear, you must have the slowest metabolism in the whole goddamn world.
I guess that's one way to wear a guy out. Still, I think Carl and Molly make a hell of a couple. I mean, talk about boo of a kind. Okay, I see your raise, and raise you 20. Call. Now that's a poker face. Looks like it's curtains for me, kiddies. Then again, maybe the Venetian blinds would look better. I don't know. When I started this little makeover, I was pretty excited. I thought a little latex paint, some new scream doors, maybe even some scare conditioning. I could turn my little domicile into a regular pied a terror. But I tell you, kiddies, Between the dust and the ghost overruns, your pal the Crypt Keeper's going out of his mind! Which is kinda like the woman in tonight's terror tale. It's about a comic book artist who's about to experience a terrible case of deja vu. I call it Whirlpool.
Hey, Velma, you getting in the tub with me or not?
Sure thing, Joel. I'll be right there.
Well, I hope you like it hot. Velma? Velma? Where'd you go?
Yeah, you son of a bitch.
Some clothes on. You had him in the kip, didn't you?
You told me to do whatever it took, and that's what it took. Actually, I feel kind of bad about Jerry. He was pretty good. Oh, what the hell? I'll always have my memories.
I'm glad you feel that way, Velma. I'm all choked up.
Oh, I didn't mean it.
Now, wait a minute. Maybe I'm stupid or something, but I don't get it.
No, it's simple. This guy is really dead.
What, he's dead?
No, he's dead.
What, you mean he's dead?
He's dead.
What, are you kidding me?
What's the matter? You don't like it?
What's to like? What kind of ending is that?
It's a twist.
It's a piece of shit. Even the artwork sucks. There is no edge to it. It's predictable.
What are you talking about? You don't expect the guy in the tub to be alive.
He's alive? Jeez, I thought he was a ghoul or something.
He's not?
Okay. He's a Google. I'll change it.
For Christ's sake, I gotta get this issue to the printers in 2 hours, except now I'm a story short. Thank you. Iggy, you got anything in your files?
I got that he's a werewolf, she's a vampire, but neither of them knows it story.
Hal, save me.
You know that guy who wants to head the company, so they cut off his head thing I've been working on?
Christ.
I can have it on your desk in a half hour.
Do it. Just do it.
It's not that bad, is it?
Rolanda, I want you in my office right now.
Trust me, it's worse.
How dare you walk in here and try to pass off that garbage to me? I wouldn't line a birdcage with that story.
I'm sorry.
Sorry, don't cut it. I need stories. I need them on time, and I need them great. And I can't remember the last time you delivered either. For crying out loud, Rolanda used to be the thoroughbred in this stable. What happened to you? Are you drinking again?
Honest to God, Vern, not a drop.
Yeah. And maybe you should start. I don't know what to tell you except clean out your desk.
Please. Please, Vern, we got a history, you and me. You want me to beg? I'll beg.
I've seen you on your knees before, and it ain't a pretty picture. Security!
Hey, let go of me, you big palooka!
That poor kid.
Can't say you didn't see it coming.
You're a little later than I expected. I wasn't gonna wait much past midnight.
I took your advice and I stopped in that cozy little bar around the corner. They remembered me.
Why not? They've been in mourning since the day you climbed on the wagon.
Funny. That's what they said.
Can we speed this up? I gotta get to work in the morning.
I got a great idea for a story, Vern. It's about a gal who loses her job, and something inside of her snaps, and she finds that thing that gives her back her edge.
Sounds a little thin.
Trust me. The visual is going to sell it.
Yolanda, what are you doing?
I ain't begging for my job anymore, that's for sure.
Look, you gotta understand, I did what I did for a reason.
Garbage! On your knees! You're the one who's going to beg, and I've seen you on your knees, and it's not a pretty picture.
Well,
Come on! Come
well,
on! I don't hear you begging.
Actually, I feel kind of bad about Jerry. He was pretty good. Oh, what the hell? I'll always have my memories.
I'm glad you feel that way, Velma. I'm all choked up.
What, he's dead?
No, he's dead.
Wait, you mean he's dead?
No, he is dead.
What, are you kidding me?
What's the matter? You don't like it?
What kind of ending is that?
It's a twist.
It's a piece of shit. Even the artwork sucks. There's no edge to it. It's predictable.
I didn't expect the guy in the tub to still be alive.
He's alive? Jeez, I thought he was a ghoul or something.
Oh, Christ's sake. I gotta get this issue to the printers in 2 hours. Except now I'm a story short. Thank you. Iggy, you got anything in your files?
I got that he's a werewolf, she's a vampire, but neither of them knows it story.
Great. Hal, save me.
You know that guy that wants to head the company so they cut off his head thing that I've been working on? I can have it on your desk in a half hour.
Do it. Just do it.
It's not that bad, is it?
Rolanda, I want you in my office now.
It's worse.
Vern, there's something strange going on here.
How dare you walk in here and try to pass off that garbage to me? I wouldn't line a birdcage with that story.
You gotta listen to me. I had this dream last night.
I need stories. I need them on time and I need them great. I can't even remember the last time you delivered either. Crying out loud, you used to be the thoroughbred in this stable. Are you drinking again?
Honest to God, Vern, not a drop.
Then maybe you should start.
Before you fire me?
Somebody call security!
That poor kid.
Can't say you didn't see it coming.
No.
You're a little later than I expected. I wasn't gonna wait much past midnight.
I want to apologize for today. I haven't been drinking, but I have a great idea for a story. It's about a gal who loses her job and something inside of her snaps. And she finds that thing that gives her back her edge.
Sounds a little thin.
No, I really think I have something good.
One step closer, and I'll blow you away, you sick bitch.
What are you doing?
You didn't come here to beg for your job. You came here to kill me.
No!
You're about as predictable as your cockamamie stories. On your knees. I said get down on your goddamn knees! Go on! Go on!
What are you doing?
Think I'm gonna wait around here for you to nail me?
I didn't come here to kill you. I came here to beg for my job.
Everybody saw you attack me today. They had to run for security. Then tonight you came back. I had to shoot you in self-defense. I think it'll sell.
Hello, Hal? Is Vern there? He went out. Went out? Oh, well, you know that guy who wants to be the head of the company thing you've been working on? You better get cracking. Probably won't take you more than a half an hour to finish it.
Why's that?
Because I'm not coming in today. That's why. Could you hold on just a second? Vern, what are you doing here?
What do you think? Where's the story?
I was just calling to tell you. Something came up. I don't have it.
You idiot! I gotta have this issue to the printers in 2 hours. Except now I'm a story short.
I fixed it. I called Hal, and I told him to finish that guy who wants to be the head of the company thing.
I hate that friggin' story. Oh, it's even stupider than Iggy's goddamn he's a werewolf, she's a vampire story. Oh, Christ! Are you drinking again?
Mr. Godburn, no, not a drop.
You're fired. You hear me? Fired!
Oh, Vern! Don't do this to me.
I can't take this anymore.
Vern, no!
Freeze!
Don't shoot! Don't shoot!
Cold-blooded bitch.
I didn't
You're going home, sweetheart.
Poor kid.
Can't say you didn't see it coming.
I know what's going on here. You'll shoot me and I'll wake up in a minute and it'll start all over again.
Ready! Aim! Fire!
What, are you kidding me?
What's the matter? Don't you like it?
What kind of ending is that?
Yeah, it's a twist.
It's a piece of shit. Even the artwork sucks.
I can fix it.
Oh, don't bother. And I don't appreciate you using my likeness in your goddamn story either. I gotta get this issue to the printers in 2 hours. Rick, grab something from your files, will ya?
Yep.
You. In my office. Now!
Oh, shit.
Poor Rolanda. All she wanted was another shot. And that's exactly what they gave her. Talk about character assassination. So what do you think, kiddies? Am I ready for Architectural Digest or what? It took a while, but this old haunt is finally coming together. Nice shutters over there. A lovely fright fixture over here. As a matter of fact, I've even started thinking of some new improvements I want to make. And I'm going to use the same contractor. I'm already taking bits.
The music was too loud, the laughter too forced, and the smell of cheap champagne hung heavy in the air. It was one of those Halloween nights where people wore more masks than faces, and everyone pretended not to care that their lives were falling apart beneath the glitter. Carl Kensington stood in the middle of the crowd, his face hidden behind a metallic mask that gleamed like a predator's smile. The lights from the strobe flashed across it, reflecting fragments of other people's disguises, angels, demons, clowns, and ghosts, all spinning in drunken rhythm. He didn't belong here. He knew that. But then again, he didn't belong anywhere anymore. The breakup with Vicky had stripped him down to the bone. His pride, his apartment, his sense of worth, all gone. She had taken everything, even the damned cat. And now he was here surrounded by strangers who thought anonymity was freedom, trying to drown his bitterness in the bottom of a glass. A woman brushed past him. Her perfume lingered like smoke. He turned his head, catching only a glimpse of her costume, a long black dress that shimmered like oil, and a white mask that covered her entire face. It wasn't the kind of mask you found in stores. This one looked sculpted, deliberate, like porcelain molded by grief. The eyes were hollow, the lips painted crimson. She didn't laugh or dance. She stood still, watching the crowd as if studying the decay beneath the masks. Carl couldn't look away. Maybe it was the mystery. Maybe it was the way she didn't seem to care that she stood apart from everyone else. She felt like danger disguised as beauty. And after months of heartbreak, danger sounded like a cure. He walked toward her, weaving through the chaos, his boots sticky on the beer-soaked floor. She turned her head slightly as he approached, but didn't move away. The strobe light flashed across her mask, revealing just the hint of a smile. Or maybe it was painted on. "Nice mask," he said, raising his glass halfway in greeting. His voice came out rougher than he'd meant. "It hides everything," she replied. Her voice was soft but sharp, like glass under silk. "Isn't that the point tonight?" Carl nodded. "Maybe. Some people hide too well." "Some people should," she said, tilting her head. "The world doesn't deserve to see what's underneath." There was something in the way she said it, like she wasn't talking about costumes. "I'm Carl," he offered, trying to sound casual. "Names ruin the illusion," she said, "but you can call me Molly." Molly. It felt strange, simple, real, yet she didn't move to shake his hand. She just turned her face slightly toward the dance floor, as if she was watching people rot in slow motion. "You don't dance?" he asked. "Not when the music's this fake." "I could say the same about the people." That earned a laugh. Or maybe it was a sigh. Either way, it made him feel like he'd won a small victory. "Let's get out of here," she said suddenly, as if reading his thoughts. "You don't look like you came here to dance either." "You don't even know me," Carl said, half teasing, half wary. "No," she replied, her eyes glinting behind the mask. "But I can tell when someone's already trying to disappear." He didn't argue. The party felt suffocating now. The heat, the noise, the stench of cheap perfume and desperation. They slipped out together through a side door, the sound of laughter fading behind them like the dying heartbeat of something rotten. The air outside was cold and sharp, slicing through the haze of alcohol. Carl followed Molly down a narrow alley that emptied into a quiet street lined with broken lampposts. Her heels clicked rhythmically on the pavement. "You live around here?" he asked. "Farther than you think," she replied without turning. "But it's closer tonight." He didn't know what that meant, but he didn't care. There was something magnetic about her stillness, the way her words floated between menace and invitation. When they reached an old brick building with boarded-up windows, she stopped and turned to face him. "Do you always follow strangers home?" she asked. "Only the interesting ones." "Then come in." She pushed open the door, and the hinges creaked like something waking from a long sleep. Inside, the hallway smelled of dust and rain. The wallpaper was peeling, and the floorboards groaned with every step. The building looked abandoned, but there were candles burning along the stairwell, their light flickering against the cracked walls. "You live here?" he asked, more curious than afraid. "For now." She led him up the stairs to a door at the end of the hall. Inside, the apartment was dimly lit, filled with mismatched furniture and strange art. Mannequin heads lined one shelf, each painted differently. Some grotesque, some beautiful, all eerily lifelike. On the table, a cracked mirror lay beside a set of sculpting tools and jars of pigment. "You make these?" Carl asked, stepping closer to the shelf. "Masks," she said simply. "Faces for people who lost theirs." "You're an artist?" "Something like that." She removed her gloves, revealing hands pale as porcelain, speckled with dried paint. "What about you, Carl? Who are you under that mask?" He laughed softly. "A mistake someone didn't want to make twice. That's not who you are. That's what happened to you." She moved closer, her fingers brushing against the edge of his mask. "May I?" He hesitated, then nodded. Her touch was cool as she lifted it away, revealing his face to the candlelight, unshaven, tired, but human. "Better?" she whispered. "Now I can see the damage." "You sound like you enjoy it." "I do," she said, not smiling. "Scars tell the truth. Skin lies." Carl didn't know what to say. She walked to the table and picked up a mask. White, unfinished, the features smooth and empty. "Everyone wants to be someone else," she said, turning it over in her hands. "But what happens when the mask fits better than the face?" "Then you forget who you are," he said. "Exactly." She looked at him then, really looked, and he felt like she could see every wound he'd tried to hide. "You don't have to forget," she said. "You can become." Become what? Whatever you want. The word sounded dangerous, like a spell disguised as comfort. She set the mask down and walked toward him again, stopping just close enough that he could feel her breath through the mask she still wore. You could stay here tonight, she said. Or you could go back to your empty apartment and pretend the world hasn't already moved on without you. Carl hesitated. He didn't know her. He didn't even know if Molly was her real name. But something in him, a dark, aching hunger, wanted to stay. Maybe it was loneliness. Maybe it was the idea that someone finally saw him, even if it was through the cracks. "I'll stay," he said quietly. Her masked face tilted, approving. "Good," she whispered. "Then take off your skin." He blinked. "What?" She laughed, a low, haunting sound. "I'm joking," she said. "For now." She walked toward the window, drawing the curtain aside. The city lights bled through the glass like distant embers. "You can sleep there," she said, pointing to the couch. "I don't sleep much." "Why not?" "Dreams," she said simply. "They remember too much." Carl sat down, feeling the exhaustion of the night wash over him. The couch was old but clean. He glanced around again, the mannequins, the half-finished masks, the strange stillness of the place. "You really live alone?" he asked. "No one really does," she said without turning. "Not when the walls have memories." He didn't know what that meant. He didn't ask. The candles burned low. The room flickered between shadow and gold. Somewhere in the distance, thunder rolled. Carl leaned back, watching the silhouette of the masked woman framed by the window. She looked like a ghost painted onto reality, and for a moment he wondered if he'd already crossed into some dream he couldn't wake from. His eyes grew heavy. The last thing he saw before he drifted into sleep was Molly's reflection in the cracked mirror, standing perfectly still, her mask slightly tilted, as if smiling at something he couldn't see. Carl woke to silence. Not the peaceful kind, but the thick, uneasy silence that presses down on your chest and listens back. The candles had burned out during the night, leaving the apartment soaked in the pale blue light of early morning. For a moment he forgot where he was. The cracked ceiling above him, the faint smell of wax and turpentine, the eerie line of mannequin heads staring from the shelf, it all came back in fragments. Then he remembered her, Molly, the woman in the porcelain mask. He sat up, rubbing his temples. His mouth was dry, his head heavy. He didn't remember falling asleep, but he remembered that final image, her reflection, unmoving in the mirror long after she'd walked away from it. The thought made his skin crawl. He looked around. The apartment was empty, or seemed to be. No sound of footsteps, no movement behind the heavy curtains. Just the slow creak of wood, the whisper of the wind through the cracks in the walls. On the table, beside the unfinished mask from the night before, sat a note. The handwriting was elegant, sharp, almost calligraphic. "Breakfast is in the kitchen. Don't open the locked door." That was all. No name, no explanation. He frowned, looking toward the hallway. There was only one door apart from the entrance, the one at the far end, painted black, with a brass handle that caught the morning light. The words of the note pulsed in his head. Don't open the locked door. He told himself he wouldn't, and yet he already knew he would. Carl pushed himself off the couch, the floorboards sighing beneath his feet. He found the kitchen easily, if it could be called that. The shelves were old, the counter cluttered with paintbrushes, jars, and strange bits of plaster. But there was coffee, freshly brewed, still steaming. He hesitated before pouring some into a cup. It tasted bitter, earthy, like it had been made with intent rather than care. On the table sat a single apple, bright red, perfectly polished. He didn't eat it. Something about its perfection unsettled him. He moved back into the living room, drawn again to the shelf of masks. In the morning light, they looked even more lifelike than before. Some were beautiful, others distorted, cheeks hollowed, lips torn, eyes too wide or too sad. Each one seemed to hold an emotion frozen mid-breath. He noticed something new, small tags beneath them, handwritten like the note. Joy, shame, desire, guilt. The words sent a chill down his spine. He reached out to touch one. The mask labeled Sorrow. Its surface was cold, unnaturally smooth. Beneath his fingers, the edge felt almost like skin. "Don't touch that," said a voice behind him. Carl turned sharply. Molly stood in the doorway, still masked, still dressed in black. She moved soundlessly, as if the air didn't dare resist her. "I didn't mean to," he said. "I was just curious." Her tone was neither angry nor soft. It was something else, like she had seen this moment before and was simply watching it unfold again. "Yeah," Carl admitted. "They're incredible. Almost real." "They were." He froze. "What do you mean, were?" She tilted her head. "Art should live once," she said. "Then it should die." He didn't understand, but the way she said it made him not want to. "So, you made all these?" She nodded slightly. "Each one is a secret someone gave me. I just shaped it into something they could live with." Carl laughed nervously. "You mean, like therapy?" "Like transformation," she said. "When people lose their faces, they come to me. I make them new ones." He couldn't tell if she was joking. "And that works?" Her gloved hand brushed against one of the masks. "For some." They stood in silence for a moment. The air between them felt charged, like before a storm. "Did you sleep well?" she asked finally. "I had dreams," he said. "Strange ones." "Everyone does here. The walls remember." She walked past him, moving toward the table. He noticed something he hadn't before. Her mask was cracked near the temple, a faint line running down like a healed scar. "Does it ever get heavy?" he asked before thinking. "Wearing that all the time?" "Only when I forget it's there." She turned her masked face toward him. "Do you know why people wear masks, Carl?" "To hide?" "To reveal," she said. "The face lies more easily than any mask ever could." He wasn't sure how to answer. Molly reached for a brush, dipped it into a small jar of pigment, and began painting the unfinished mask on the table. Her movements were slow, deliberate. "Tell me about her," she said without looking up. "Who?" "The woman who broke you." Carl stiffened. "You don't know anything about that." "I don't have to. You wear the shape of it." He wanted to walk away. He wanted to tell her to stop, but instead he sat down. "Her name was Vicky," he said quietly. "We were together for 5 years. Then one day she decided I wasn't enough anymore." Molly kept painting. "And you believed her? Did I have a choice?" "There's always a choice. Some people fight to keep their faces. Others hand them over willingly." He looked at her frustrated. "What does that even mean?" "It means you're still wearing the one she left you with," she said. "It doesn't fit anymore." He fell silent. The room seemed smaller now, the light dimmer. Finally, he said, "Maybe that's why I came here. Maybe I wanted to be someone else for a while." Molly set down the brush and stepped closer. "Then let me help you." Her gloved fingers reached up, tracing the outline of his jaw. He froze. Her touch was cold but steady. "You don't have to carry her reflection anymore," she whispered. "You can start over." "With you?" "With yourself." Carl didn't know if it was the intensity of her voice or the way she stood so close, but something inside him cracked open. Something desperate, unguarded. "Show me," he said. She smiled. Or the mask did. "Later," she said softly. "First, you have to see." "See what?" "The truth." She turned and walked toward the black door at the end of the hall, the one the note had warned him about. Carl's pulse quickened. "You said not to open that." "I did," she said, "but not everything locked is meant to stay closed forever." She reached into her pocket, pulling out a small silver key. The sound of it sliding into the lock echoed through the quiet room. The door creaked open. The smell hit first. Metallic, damp, faintly sweet. The kind of smell that clings to forgotten basements and hospital rooms. Inside, the light was dim. Shadows bent across the walls like twisted branches. Molly stepped inside. "Come," she said. He hesitated. Every instinct screamed at him to turn around. But curiosity. His oldest, most dangerous flaw dragged him forward. The room was small, windowless. Along the walls were tables covered in white sheets. Underneath, shapes, some long, some curled. He reached for the nearest one, pulling the sheet back just enough to see what lay beneath. It was a mask. No, more than that. Face. Human. Perfectly preserved, as if carved from flesh itself. The eyes were closed, the lips soft. It looked asleep. Carl stumbled back, his stomach twisting. "What the hell is this?" Molly's voice was calm. "Art," she said. "Every face tells a story. These are the ones that didn't want to be forgotten." He looked around, realizing every sheet hid another like it. Dozens of them. "You said they were masks," he whispered. "They are," she said. "Once they were worn, now they're remembered." He shook his head. "You're insane." "Maybe," she said, stepping closer. "But tell me, Carl, what are you doing here if not trying to lose your own skin?" He didn't answer. Her gloved hand reached out again, this time holding a scalpel. "You wanted to start over," she said softly. "I can give you that, a new face, a new truth." He backed away. "You're joking." "Am I?" Her mask tilted, and for the first time he thought he saw movement beneath it, something shifting, writhing, like muscle under porcelain. He ran. The hallway blurred as he stumbled toward the door. His hand grabbed the knob, but it didn't move. Locked. Behind him, Molly's footsteps were slow, deliberate. "You can't leave yet," she said. "You haven't become." Carl turned, heart pounding. "Stay away from me!" She stopped. The silence between them stretched like a held breath. Then, slowly, she reached up and removed her mask. What lay beneath wasn't a face. Not really. It was something unfinished, as if sculpted but never completed. Pale flesh stitched with faint lines, eyes like blank marbles, lips that didn't seem to belong to her at all. "Do you see now?" she whispered, only skin deep. Carl pressed himself against the door, terrified. She smiled, or tried to. "Don't be afraid. Everyone wears something borrowed." Then she placed the porcelain mask back onto her face, and the illusion of beauty returned. She turned away, walking back toward the black room, her voice trailing behind her like a lullaby. "You'll understand soon. No one leaves without their true face." Carl stood frozen, staring after her, the echo of her words clawing at his mind. Outside, the morning light had vanished behind clouds. The city, too, seemed to be holding its breath. Carl didn't move for what felt like hours. The light in the apartment dimmed until it was nothing more than a faded smear on the wall. He stood by the door, fingers trembling on the knob, unable to remember whether he was breathing. The memory of her face, or whatever had been behind that porcelain mask, clung to his mind like smoke that refused to clear. When he finally forced himself to move, he noticed the walls. They were different. The color had changed, subtly at first, flesh tones replacing plaster, faint veins threading through the paint like rivers beneath translucent skin. He blinked hard, but the image stayed. "No," he muttered. No. He tried the lock again. Nothing. The keyhole seemed to stretch as he turned it, as though mocking him. He took a step back and kicked it once. The sound that came wasn't wood splintering, it was soft, wet, like striking something alive. The house moaned. He froze. A low, animal groan traveled through the walls, rattling the window panes, vibrating in the floorboards. It was as if the building itself was exhaling. He stumbled backward, knocking over a lamp. The crash didn't echo. It was swallowed instantly by the thick, pulsing quiet that followed. Then he heard the whisper. It wasn't Molly. It wasn't even words at first. Just breath, sliding along the edges of his name. Carl! He spun around. The masks on the shelf were facing him now. He could swear they hadn't been before. Their painted eyes shimmered with moisture, their lips slightly parted, as though each one was mid-sentence, waiting for him to listen. He grabbed a chair and swung it, smashing two of them to the floor. The porcelain cracked. But from inside the fractures seeped something dark, sticky, and red. Blood. Carl staggered backward. "What is this place?" He turned toward the hall. The black door was still open, the darkness beyond it denser now, as if the room had grown. He should have run the other way, but his mind had begun to loop in circles, logic unraveling thread by thread. The whisper came again, closer this time. You wanted to forget, Carl. You wanted to start over. He felt something brush against his shoulder. He swung around, but there was nothing there. Just the faint smell of perfume, like burning roses. "Molly!" he shouted. "Where are you?" No answer. He walked down the hall, step by slow step. The air grew warmer the closer he came to that black door, until it felt like standing inside a living creature. He reached the doorway and looked in. The faces on the tables were gone. The sheets remained, but whatever had lain beneath them had vanished. In their place stood mirrors, dozens of them, angled in every direction, reflecting each other endlessly. He saw himself multiplied, distorted, his face stretching, melting, breaking apart in shards of reflection. Then he saw her, Molly. She stood behind him in one of the mirrors, though when he turned, there was only air. Her voice came from everywhere at once. "Do you know what you really look like, Carl?" He clenched his fists. "Stop it. You wear her face," she said. "The woman you lost. The one who made you hate your own reflection." He stared at the mirrors. "You don't know anything about me." But deep down, he wasn't sure anymore. "Let me show you," she whispered. The light in the room shifted. The reflections changed. Not into Molly, not into himself, but into something else. A woman. Vicky. She stood in the mirror wearing the same dress she'd worn the night she left him. Her lips curved into that same practiced smile, the one she used when she'd already decided to move on. "Vicky," his voice cracked. "How?" "She lives inside you," Molly said softly. "You never buried her. You only wore her memory." He took a step closer to the mirror. The image smiled wider. "You never saw me, Carl," it said in Vicky's voice. "You only saw what you wanted." He slammed his fist against the glass. It didn't break. Instead, ripples spread across its surface like water disturbed by a stone. The reflection reached out, its fingers pressing from the other side. He stumbled back horrified. "No, no!" "Don't fight it," Molly's voice murmured. "Let her go." The mirror pulsed. The woman's hand broke through the surface, cold and wet, gripping his wrist. Her nails dug deep into his skin. He screamed, trying to pull away, but the glass swallowed his arm up to the elbow. The room filled with the sound of his own heartbeat, loud, deafening, synchronized with the rhythmic thump in the walls. "Molly, help me!" But she was there now, standing in the doorway, her mask flawless again. "This is what you wanted," she said quietly. "A new skin." He was losing strength. The mirror pulled harder. For a moment he thought he saw his reflection change. His own face flickering between his and hers, features blending, dissolving. "Stop!" he shouted. "Stop pretending," she said. He grabbed the edge of the mirror with his free hand and tore himself away. The glass screamed, a high-pitched human sound, as it cracked apart. He fell to the floor, gasping, his arm slick with something black and oily. When he looked up, the mirror was gone. So was Vicky. The room was empty again, except for Molly. She walked toward him, the heels of her boots clicking against the floor, slow and deliberate. In her hands she held a mask, smooth, white, unfinished. "For you," she said. He shook his head, backing away. "No, you can't leave like this," she said. Not half-formed, not bleeding between faces. He glanced at his arm. The skin there was wrong. The veins beneath it shimmered faintly, like molten glass. "What did you do to me?" She tilted her head. "I didn't do anything. You opened the door." He tried to stand, but his legs trembled. The air in the room thickened again, pressing down like humidity made solid. Every breath hurt. "You can leave," she said softly, "but only if you take something with you." She held out the mask. He stared at it, hating how beautiful it was. It seemed to hum, faintly, as though alive. "Take it," she whispered. "It's lighter than your own face." He almost did. His fingers brushed the porcelain edge before he caught himself. "You're insane." Molly stepped closer, her voice dropping. "You think masks are only for hiding, but the truth, your truth, is that you've worn one all your life." Her hand rose, cupping the side of his cheek. "Let me finish what you started." He knocked her hand away. "Stay the hell away from me." Her mask tilted slightly. For the first time, she looked sad. "Then you'll stay trapped," she said. "Here, with the others." "What others?" She didn't answer. The lights flickered. For an instant, every mirror flashed back into existence, each one showing faces, hundreds of them, men and women screaming silently from within the glass. Some he recognized, some he didn't, and in one of them he saw himself, but his reflection was smiling. He backed toward the hallway. "No. Yes," she said softly. "You belong here now." Carl turned and ran. The corridor stretched impossibly long, bending around corners that hadn't been there before. The walls pulsed with faint light, veins glowing beneath the surface like embers. He stumbled past doors that led nowhere, each one whispering his name. Finally, he reached the front door again. The lock was gone. In its place was his own reflection, faintly visible in the wood. He didn't hesitate. He hurled his body at it. The surface shattered, into glass, into light, into something that felt like falling through himself. Then silence. When he opened his eyes, he was standing in the alley outside the building. Rain was falling. The city around him looked the same, gray, indifferent, alive. For a moment he thought he'd escaped. Then he saw the puddle near his feet. His reflection was smiling. He reached up, touching his face, and felt porcelain. His breath hitched. The texture was smooth, cold, perfect. He stumbled toward a parked car, staring at his reflection in the window. His face, his real face, was gone. In its place was a white mask, blank and expressionless. And behind him, through the reflection, he saw the window of the apartment glow faintly. Molly stood there watching. The mask she wore now looked exactly like him. The morning light crawled through the cracks of the blinds, revealing a man who looked less like Carl and more like a ghost wearing his skin. The apartment was a battlefield. Empty bottles, ashtrays filled with half-burned cigarettes, the stale smell of sweat and bourbon. The mirror across from him caught his reflection, but even that seemed to hesitate before showing him the truth. "Who the hell are you?" he muttered to himself, his voice rasping, like sandpaper over gilt. He hadn't called Molly, not once. He couldn't bring himself to. Something about her had carved too deep. It wasn't just attraction, it was obsession stitched together with shame. He splashed water on his face, the cool sting a momentary relief from the chaos in his head. But behind that relief, his thoughts whispered, "Go back." He tried to shake it off, lighting another cigarette instead. His hands trembled as he inhaled. He thought of her lips, her skin, her perfume that smelled faintly like something expensive and dangerous. The kind of scent that promised heaven, but delivered ruin. And Carl, broken, desperate, curious Carl, had always been addicted to ruin. That night he went back to the same bar, not because he planned it. His body moved like muscle memory. The neon flicker of the sign pulled him in like a beacon. The bartender gave him a look. That kind of half-smirk people give when they've seen you fall apart more than once. "Back for round 2?" she asked. "You look like you've been through a war." Carl grunted, ordered whiskey, and turned toward the door every time it opened. He wasn't sure what he was hoping for, or afraid of. Then she appeared, Molly, wrapped in black, her hair pinned up, her smile faint, knowing. The noise in the bar seemed to dim the second she walked in. She saw him, tilted her head, and said softly, "You came back." "I couldn't stay away," he admitted, hating how small his voice sounded. "I know," she said, and the way she said it made him feel both seen and stripped bare. They sat together again, but this time there was no small talk, no flirtation, just silence that felt like pressure, heavy and strange. "Come home with me," she whispered. He didn't hesitate this time. Her apartment was even darker than before, as if the shadows themselves were alive, waiting. The walls were covered in masks, dozens of them. Porcelain, leather, wood, metal, faces frozen in smiles, tears and screams. It should have unsettled him, but instead, he felt drawn in. "You collect these?" he asked, running his fingers over one of the masks, a cracked white face with hollow eyes. "They collect me," she replied. He turned to her confused. She smiled faintly, her lips barely curving. We all wear masks, Carl. Some of us just forget where the mask ends and the skin begins. The words hit something raw inside him. He'd been wearing masks his entire life. The charming drifter, the man who didn't care, the lover who left first to avoid being left. But in front of her, those masks felt like paper. She seemed to see through them all. "Do you want to take mine off?" she asked. Her voice had that slow, velvet tone again, dangerous and inviting. "Yes," he whispered. She turned around, lifted her hair, revealing a thin strap tied behind her neck, a mask, but made of something unlike anything he'd ever seen. It shimmered faintly in the dim light, like flesh and silk woven together. His breath caught. "Go ahead," she said. He untied it slowly, the knot loosening under his trembling fingers. As the mask peeled away, he expected makeup, maybe scars. But what he saw was different. Beneath the mask, her face wasn't entirely human. Her skin shimmered like glass stretched too thin, her features soft but blurred, as if someone had sculpted her and then changed their mind. Her eyes, once a deep brown, now glowed faintly, translucent like amber catching fire. Carl froze, unable to look away. "What? What are you?" he breathed. She smiled, and that smile was still hers. Just someone who's tired of pretending. He should have run. He knew it. But instead, he reached out and touched her cheek. It was warm, too warm, and her skin seemed to pulse faintly under his fingers. "Does it scare you?" she asked softly. "No," he said, though his heart hammered like it wanted to escape his chest. "I've seen worse." "Liar," she whispered, and her lips met his. The kiss burned, but not in pain. It was a fever, a surrender. Every nerve in his body seemed to ignite. She pressed against him, her skin impossibly smooth, her breath hot. He forgot everything. The masks, the bar, his loneliness, until she pulled away and said, "Now it's your turn." He frowned. "My turn for what?" She reached for his face, her touch gentle but firm. "To take yours off." Carl laughed nervously. "Sorry, sweetheart, I left my mask at home." But she didn't laugh. Her expression turned serious. "Everyone wears one," she said. "You just don't realize it." Her hands moved over his skin, slow, deliberate, tracing the lines of his face. "Let me see who you really are. Molly." "Shh," she breathed, pressing her finger to his lips. "Don't fight it." The room seemed to spin. The air thickened. For a split second, Carl felt like his skin was shifting. The warmth of her touch burrowed deeper, and suddenly he felt his own reflection fracturing. The confident smirk, the cool eyes, all slipping away like paint melting under heat. He gasped, stumbling back, but her hands followed, gripping his shoulders. "Stop! What are you doing to me?" he shouted. She didn't answer. Her expression was both sorrowful and hungry. "You asked for this," she said quietly. Carl ripped away from her grasp, falling against the wall. The masks stared down at him, dozens of hollow faces watching. He touched his cheek and felt something strange. The skin there felt soft, loose. His fingers came away with a faint trace of blood. Panic clawed through him. "What the hell?" Molly knelt beside him. "Don't be afraid," she whispered. "It's just the truth showing through." He looked at her. Her face now fully bare, otherworldly but beautiful in a way that defied everything he knew. And he realized something horrifying. She wasn't trying to hurt him. She was trying to make him like her. "Why me?" he rasped. Her eyes softened. "Because you don't know who you are either. You just wear what the world gives you. You wanted something real. Well, here I am." Carl tried to crawl away, but his vision blurred. His body trembled. His pulse raced. "No, I didn't want this." She leaned in close, her breath warm against his ear. "You wanted to be seen. Now you are." And as he looked up, he caught his reflection in one of the masks on the wall. For a brief, dizzy moment, he thought it was just the light playing tricks, but then he saw it clearly. The face staring back wasn't his anymore. The skin looked smoother, stretched tight. the eyes unfamiliar, his breath caught in horror. The last thing he heard before darkness swallowed him was her voice, soft, almost tender. "You'll thank me when you remember what's underneath." Carl woke to a sensation that felt like fire under his skin. He was on the couch, the familiar but strange apartment around him, the smell of wax and paint thick in the air. His head ached, and his limbs felt heavy, almost foreign. He tried to sit up and noticed the first thing that struck him as wrong: his hands. They were pale, too smooth, and the fingers long, delicate in a way that didn't belong to him. He stared at them, flexing, watching as the light reflected off the surface, porcelain-like, almost artificial. His pulse quickened. He felt different. Something in the apartment itself seemed aware, watching. The walls pulsed faintly, veins shimmering under the plaster, echoing the tremor in his own skin. Then he heard the whisper, "Carl, Carl." He spun around. The masks on the shelves were all facing him now, eyes painted to perfection, lips frozen in silent laughter or grief. But these faces weren't just masks, they breathed subtly. He could swear the eyes blinked just enough to be disorienting. Molly appeared in this doorway, still masked, still elegant. Her boots clicked against the floor like clockwork, every step deliberate. She held something in her hand, a mirror, small, handheld, but perfectly clear, the reflection gleaming like liquid glass. "Look," she said softly. Carl hesitated, but curiosity, that same reckless curiosity that had led him here, won. He reached out and took the mirror. The reflection staring back wasn't him. It was perfect. Smooth skin, eyes sharp and cold, lips curved just so. His own face, the one he had lived with, the one scarred and worn from heartbreak and bad decisions, had been erased. He didn't recognize the person staring back. Yet every feature was distinctly his, and he felt an odd, dizzying sense of ownership, as if he had always been this person but had forgotten. Who is that?" he whispered, voice trembling. "That's you," Molly said, her tone gentle but terrifying. "The version of you that isn't afraid to show the world. Or yourself." "I don't feel like me," he admitted. "That's because you're not," she said. "Not yet." He set the mirror down, backing away slightly. "Not yet? What the hell does that mean?" She stepped closer. Her mask was flawless, cold and beautiful. "You wanted to be someone else, Carl. You begged for it even if you didn't know it, and now you're becoming. The process, it's not easy. Not everyone survives it." He shook his head, panic rising. "Becoming what? What did you do to me?" "Only what you asked," she replied, her voice eerily calm. "You wanted to shed the old, ugly skin. You wanted a chance to start over. I'm giving it to you. Give. He tried to back away, but the walls seemed to pulse, subtly bending, contracting, enclosing him. The apartment itself felt alive. The air grew thick. Every breath made his lungs ache. Carl looked around frantically. "You're insane! I want out!" "You can't leave," she said, tilting her head. "Not yet. Not until you accept what's underneath." He stared at her, unsure whether to run or faint. Something in her tone, the precision of her movements, the way she stood, made him realize he was no longer in control. This place, this woman, the masks, everything had shifted. He was caught in a world that obeyed Molly, not him. The whisper came again, this time from everywhere. Face, skin, truth. Carl's vision blurred. He stumbled toward the hallway, past the shelves lined with masks. Each mask seemed to hum faintly, a low vibration that resonated in his bones. His hands, still unfamiliar, brushed against one of them, the one labeled Desire. Cold, real, terrifying. It pulsed under his touch like a heartbeat. Then the masks started moving, slowly at first, shifting in place, then stepping down from their shelves as if their porcelain faces had lives of their own. Dozens of them, sliding across the floor silently, surrounding him. Carl's heart pounded. "Stay calm," Molly said, almost soothing. "It's just part of the process." "It's insane!" he shouted, swinging his arms. One mask toppled, cracking, the porcelain breaking with a sound like bones snapping. Inside the fragments, he saw something that made his stomach twist. A tiny, pulsing red vein, like the mask had lived and bled. Carl stumbled backward into the black doorway. The forbidden room he had seen before. His reflection flickered in the dim light, shifting again. It wasn't just one face now. Dozens of faces stared back at him from the mirrors and broken shards. His, hers, strangers. All whispering, all moving, all alive. He wanted to scream. He did, but the air swallowed the sound. Molly stepped closer, holding the small handheld mirror. She pressed it against his chest, just above his heart. "Look into yourself," she whispered. "See what's real. See what you've buried." Carl hesitated, then, slowly, shakily, lifted the mirror. His reflection rippled. The man he had been, the man he hated, staring back at him through fractured glass. But as he stared, it changed. The eyes sharpened, the cheekbones rose, the skin smoothed, and the reflection smiled. A smile that was not him. "Stop this," he choked. "I don't want this." "You do," she said softly. "Or you wouldn't be here. You're afraid of yourself. That's the final step." A sudden noise made him spin. The masks on the floor were advancing toward him, no longer static. They formed a ring around him, silent, their hollow eyes glinting with something he couldn't name. He realized then that they weren't just masks. They were the faces of people who had come before him, and they had not left. "They were like you once," Molly said, unsure, afraid, refusing, but they forgot, and now they live through the mask they wear. Carl stumbled backward again, his hand brushing the wall. His fingers sank slightly into the plaster. It was soft, almost like skin. He recoiled, horrified. The apartment pulsed like a living body around him, breathing, alive, and aware of him. "Why are you doing this?" he demanded. "Why me?" "Because you can bear it," she said. "You asked for a new skin. You asked to be more than you were, and now you have a choice." "What choice?" Molly held up the mask she had given him the night before. "Wear it, and you'll be reborn. Your past will die. Your reflection will be perfect. You'll walk out into the world and no one will ever see the cracks. Or," she tilted her head, letting the silence hang heavy, "or you can refuse and remain as you were, vulnerable, incomplete, fading." Carl stared at the mask. It gleamed in the dim light, smooth and flawless like frozen liquid. His mind screamed at him to resist, to run, to destroy it. But every fiber of his body wanted to touch it, wanted to hold it, wanted the perfection it promised. His hand lifted slowly, trembling, inches from the surface. And then he froze. He saw something in the reflection of the mirror, not just himself, but Molly, watching him with intensity. Her eyes glimmered with hunger, satisfaction, something dangerous and infinite. Carl shook his head violently. "I won't do it. I won't become this." "Then the masks will take you," she said quietly. "The ones who refused before. They wait for those who hesitate." Carl looked at the circle of masks surrounding him. They were close now, almost touching. He could hear faint whispers, his own voice, his own thoughts calling out to him, mocking him. "Run!" he shouted. But he didn't move. He was rooted to the spot, paralyzed by fear and desire. Desire for freedom. Desire for rebirth. Desire for something real in a world that had always been fake. Molly stepped forward, placing her hands on his shoulders. "It's okay," she whispered. "Only skin deep. That's all it ever is." Carl felt his skin tingle. Warmth spread through him, then cold, then nothing. He tried to pull away, but her grip was iron. The masks around him shimmered, moving closer, their hollow eyes drinking in his fear. Then a strange sensation, as if the skin of his face itself were melting. His own flesh seemed to loosen, soft and pliable, as though it had been waiting to be reshaped. Pain shot through him, sharp but fleeting. He gasped, his reflection in the mirror quivering. The man he had been, flawed and human, was fading. Molly tilted her head, smiling faintly behind her mask. "It's beautiful," she whispered, "to become what you were meant to be." Carl's hands flew to his face. The skin was no longer his own. He could feel it sliding, shifting, reshaping. His reflection smiled back at him, perfect and complete. His heart raced, terror and ecstasy entwined. And then he was silent. The masks around him froze. The apartment exhaled. The pulse under the walls slowed, then stopped. Carl stared into the mirror. His reflection was flawless, untouched by time or sorrow. But beneath the smooth perfection, deep in the eyes, something waited. Something dark. Something that belonged to Molly, to the masks, to the room itself. Something alive. He realized then that perfection came with a price, and the price was just beginning. Carl opened his eyes to silence. At first he thought he was alone, but the apartment had changed. The shadows were darker, yet thinner, curling along the walls like smoke. The faint pulsing under the plaster that he had felt before was gone, replaced by a stillness that seemed deliberate, as if the building itself was holding its breath. His hands lifted to his face. The skin was smooth, flawless, perfect. But the terror had not left him. He tried to rise from the couch. Each movement felt weighted, sluggish like moving through water. The apartment seemed to resist his motion, bending subtly with every step. The doorway to the hall stretched farther away than it had been before, the corners of the room folding inward like the edges of a painting that refused to be flat. Carl shivered. What is this? He muttered, stepping toward the hall. The air smelled faintly of perfume and decay, simultaneously comforting and revolting. A mask lay in the center of the living room, one he had not seen before. It was made of dark wood, smooth and polished, with hollow eyes and a subtle smile that seemed both mocking and knowing. He knelt to touch it. The instant his fingers brushed the surface, a shiver ran up his spine, and he jerked his hand away. It was cold, impossibly cold, and yet it burned, as if alive. The whisper came again. Carl! He spun. The hallway behind him was empty, but the shadows moved. The walls themselves seemed to breathe now, pulsing subtly, expanding and contracting as if they were lungs. The apartment was alive, and it was aware. "Molly," he called, his voice trembling. "Where are you?" She appeared, suddenly, in the doorway to the black room, wearing her mask. Her posture was elegant, controlled, predatory. She held the small handheld mirror, the surface gleaming with the dim light of the apartment. "Come with me," she said softly. Carl hesitated. His instinct screamed at him to run, to escape this surreal nightmare. But his body betrayed him. He followed. Every step down the hall stretched longer than reality should allow, and each door he passed seemed to shift, just slightly, changing his perception. He tried to push against it, but the apartment itself guided him, bending corridors and rooms to funnel him toward the black doorway. Inside, the room had changed. The mirrors were gone, replaced by walls of masks, hundreds of them, suspended in mid-air, facing inward toward him. Each one seemed alive, their painted eyes glimmering faintly as if they could see him, understand him. He stumbled back. "They're waiting," Molly said softly, appearing behind him. Her hand brushed his shoulder, but it was not cold this time. It was firm, insistent. "They wait for all who hesitate." Carl's breath hitched. I don't understand," he said. "Why me? What is this place?" Molly tilted her head, her eyes behind the mask glimmering. "Because you wanted it. You wanted to be more than you were, and now you are." He shook his head violently. "I didn't ask for this. I didn't want whatever this is." She stepped closer, raising the handheld mirror. "You already asked for it, Carl. When you first touched the mask, when you let me guide your reflection. You began the process. There is no undoing it." Carl stared at the mirror. His reflection shimmered within it, smooth and flawless, perfect in every detail. But beneath that perfection, something dark flickered. A shadow, alive, waiting. "What's happening to me?" he whispered. Molly knelt beside him. "You're becoming. You're shedding what you were, and it will not stop until you embrace it fully." He stumbled backward. "Embrace what? I'm losing myself." "Only the parts you were afraid to face," she said, softly but firmly. "The masks you've worn your entire life. The lies, the fear, the doubt. They're gone. Only skin deep, Carl, that's all. Carl's vision blurred. His reflection in the mirror shifted, flickering between him and someone else, someone unrecognizable, perfect, terrifying. His heart raced. He wanted to scream, to fight, to destroy the mirror, the masks, Molly, anything. But his body felt foreign, unresponsive. The masks around him began to move. They rotated slightly, then stepped forward in unison. Their hollow eyes gleamed, and Carl realized with horror that they were no longer inanimate objects. They were alive. Their movements were slow but deliberate, as if guided by a single consciousness. "Step forward," Molly said, her voice calm, irresistible. "Face yourself." Carl stumbled, tripping over the uneven floor. The masks closed in, forming a ring around him. Each one seemed to whisper, a faint susurration that made his ears ache. The words were indistinct, but the intent was clear. They knew him. They had always known him. He reached out for the nearest mask, trying to smash it, but it shifted before he could touch it. A cold, invisible hand pressed against his chest, forcing him back. The room pulsed. The walls breathed. The ceiling seemed to lower, and the floor to rise. He was trapped in a living, breathing nightmare, and every sense screamed in protest. Molly's hands found his shoulders again. "It's okay," she whispered. "Only skin deep. Only skin deep." Carl's skin tingled. Warmth spread, then cold, then nothing. He felt his own face shifting, loosening, reshaping. Pain shot through him, sharp but fleeting, as if the very bones under his skin were being molded. He clawed at his cheeks, trying to stop it, but the flesh yielded like clay. The masks around him hummed, a low, vibrating chant that filled the room. Carl's reflection flickered, morphing into something flawless, unrecognizable, yet intimately familiar. His heartbeat thundered in his ears. He screamed, but the sound was swallowed by the thick, pulsing air. Molly's whisper was constant. "Only skin deep. Only skin deep. Only skin deep." Carl's vision blurred. The masks tilted, leaned, shifted. Each one seemed to mirror a memory, a fear, a desire. Faces he had known, faces he had feared, faces he had loved. They surrounded him, pressing close, watching. He felt himself slipping. His identity, the man he had been, was melting. The perfection in the mirror was calling him, seductive and terrifying. He wanted to resist, but he could feel it. The skin, the flawless reflection waiting to consume him entirely. "Stop!" he shouted, though the word felt powerless. "You can't stop it," Molly said softly. "You asked for this. You wanted it. You have no choice but to accept it now." Carl's hands went to his face. The skin was soft, pliable, shifting beneath his fingers. His reflection in the mirror smiled, perfect and complete. But behind those flawless eyes, something waited. Something dark, alive, belonging not just to him, but to the apartment, to Molly, to the masks themselves. He realized in a moment of cold clarity that perfection came with a price, and he had already begun to pay it. The masks whispered louder now, their voices merging into a single, terrifying chant. Carl stumbled backward, falling to the floor. The apartment pulsed around him, breathing, alive, aware. Molly knelt beside him, holding the handheld mirror over his face. "Look," she whispered. "See what you've become. See who you really are." Carl gazed into the mirror. His face was perfect, smooth, flawless. But the eyes held something else, something that was not entirely his, something that belonged to her, to the masks, to the apartment itself. He tried to speak, to protest, to reclaim himself, but no words came. Only the echo of his own heartbeat, the whisper of the masks, and Molly's calm, terrifying presence. And he knew in that moment that there was no escape. The apartment had him, the masks had him, Molly had him. And beneath the flawless skin, the dark, living shadow waited. Carl woke with a start, sweat clinging to his forehead. The apartment was unnervingly quiet. The air was thick, still, as if the world itself were holding its breath. He tried to rise, but his body felt sluggish, heavy. His reflection in the mirror across the room caught his eye. Smooth, flawless, terrifyingly perfect. He touched his face. The skin felt foreign, almost like silk stretched too tight over fragile bones. He staggered to the hallway. The walls pulsed faintly beneath his fingers, like a heartbeat just out of sync with his own. His thoughts raced. What had Molly done to him? What was happening? And why did the mask seem alive, waiting for something only he could understand? A sound made him freeze. A soft scraping, almost imperceptible, coming from the black doorway at the end of the hall. It was the room where the mirrors and masks had once tormented him. Carl's pulse quickened. He wanted to run, to escape, but something compelled him forward, an invisible thread pulling him toward the unknown. The doorway was open. The room beyond was darker than he remembered. Masks lined every surface, suspended in midair, their painted eyes glimmering faintly. And in the center of the room, Molly stood, holding a new mask, one unlike any he had seen before. Its surface was black, polished to perfection, the expression frozen in a subtle, knowing smile. "You're awake," she said softly. "Good. We need to continue." Carl shook his head violently. "No, I've had enough. I want out." "You can't leave," she replied. Her voice was calm, patient, almost maternal. "Not until you understand." Carl's gaze was drawn to the mask in her hands. It seemed to pulse faintly, as if alive. The air around it shimmered. He noticed then that the other masks were moving subtly, leaning toward him, shifting as though watching, analyzing, waiting. What is this?" he asked, his voice trembling. "The masks," Molly said, her tone gentle but firm. "Hold the truth. Every face here belonged to someone once, someone who wanted to change, to shed their skin, to escape. And now they are trapped, waiting for the next person." Carl stepped back, horror spreading through him. "Trapped? You mean they're alive?" "In a way," she said. "Not alive as you understand it, but not gone either. They exist between the layers of the skin, the reflection, the mask. Every person who wore one, every person who begged for change, they are here, part of the collection, part of the apartment, part of me." Carl stumbled, backing toward the doorway. You're insane. This is a nightmare." Molly smiled faintly, stepping closer. "Only a nightmare if you refuse to see it. But you, Carl, you've already begun the process. Your reflection is perfect. Your skin is flawless. You are already part of the collection in ways you do not yet understand." He glanced at the masks surrounding him, their painted eyes glimmering, alive. Faces he recognized, faces he didn't. All watching him, all waiting. His stomach turned. "Why me?" he whispered. "Because you were ready," Molly said softly. "Because you wanted it, even if you didn't know it. Every fear you've buried, every mask you've worn, it led you here." Carl's mind reeled. He wanted to fight, to escape, but the apartment itself seemed to resist his motion. The walls pulsed, breathing, alive. The masks leaned closer, whispering faintly. Words he could not decipher, but their intent was unmistakable. They wanted him to understand, to submit, to accept. Molly held out the black mask. "Take it," she said softly. "Wear it. Accept what you are becoming. Only then will you understand." Carl hesitated, trembling. He could feel the warmth of her hands, the subtle pressure of her presence. The masks around him seemed to lean closer, their painted eyes gleaming with anticipation. His reflection in the mirror flickered. Now flawless, perfect, yet something dark lurked beneath the surface. "I can't," he whispered. "I won't." "Then you will remain between," Molly said, her voice calm, inexorable. "Neither yourself nor perfect. Trapped, like the others." Carl's heart raced. He wanted to scream, to run, to destroy everything. But his body felt foreign, unresponsive. The masks pulsed subtly, leaning closer, almost touching him. The air grew thick, heavy, oppressive. Suddenly, a mask floated toward him on its own, a wooden face with hollow eyes and a faint smile. He tried to push it away, but it hovered in place just out of reach as if daring him. Molly stepped forward, placing her hand on his shoulder. "Don't fight it," she whispered. "The masks will guide you. They always do. They show the truth beneath the skin. Carl shook his head violently. I don't want the truth. I don't want any of this. You already have it, she said softly. You just haven't accepted it. Look into the mask. See yourself. Carl lifted the black mask hesitantly. As he brought it closer, he glimpsed something impossible. Within the hollow eyes, he saw not just his reflection, but countless others. Faces trapped, writhing, screaming silently. Faces that had worn the masks before him. Faces that had begged, struggled, submitted, or resisted. Each one was part of the mask, part of the room, part of Molly. He staggered backward, dropping the mask. The whispering around him grew louder, a chorus of voices, all overlapping, all demanding attention. See? They wait for those who hesitate, Molly said, her tone calm, almost gentle. They are the collection. They are the apartment. They are me. And now, you will be part of it too if you do not accept. Carl's breath came in short, ragged gasps. He tried to move, to escape, but the walls pulsed, bending, reshaping. Every door, every corridor seemed to stretch farther, fold in upon itself. He was trapped in a living, breathing maze, guided by Molly and the masks. You're not real, he shouted. This isn't real. Molly's eyes behind the mask glimmered with something dark, infinite. Reality is what you make of it, Carl. But you cannot deny what you are becoming. You cannot run from yourself. The masks leaned closer. Their hollow eyes glimmered with anticipation. Faces he recognized. Faces he didn't. All watching, all waiting. The whispers grew louder, overlapping into a deafening cacophony of sound and intent. Carl felt his skin tingle. The smooth, flawless surface of his face seemed to shift, loosen, reshape. Pain shot through him, sharp but fleeting, as if the very bones under his skin were being molded. He clawed at his cheeks, trying to stop it, but the flesh yielded like clay. Molly's voice was constant, soothing, and terrifying. Only skin deep, only skin deep, only skin deep. Carl's reflection in the mirror flickered, morphing into something flawless, unrecognizable, yet intimately familiar. His heartbeat thundered in his ears. He screamed, but the sound was swallowed by the thick, pulsing air. The masks whispered louder now, their voices merging into a single, terrifying chant. Carl stumbled backward, falling to the floor. The apartment pulsed around him, breathing, alive, aware. Molly knelt beside him, holding the black mask over his face. Look, she whispered. See what you've become. See who you really are. Carl gazed into the mask. His face was flawless, smooth, perfect. But the eyes held something else. Something that was not entirely his. Something that belonged to her, to the masks, to the apartment itself. He tried to speak, to protest, to reclaim himself, but no words came. Only the echo of his own heartbeat, the whisper of the masks, and Molly's calm, terrifying presence. And he knew, in that moment, that there was no escape. The apartment had him. The masks had him. Molly had him. And beneath the flawless skin, the dark, living shadow waited. Carl woke again, but the apartment was no longer familiar. The walls had changed overnight, stretching and folding as if the building itself were alive and aware of his presence. Every shadow seemed to move independently, whispering softly, their voices indistinct but urgent. The air was thick, almost viscous, clinging to his skin. He rose slowly, the flawless surface of his own face reflecting light from the small, flickering lamps. His hands touched his cheeks. Smooth, unbroken, perfect. But perfection felt alien, like a cage trapping him inside someone else's body. He tried to move through the apartment, but every step felt heavy. The floor beneath him seemed uneven, alive, pulsing slightly under his weight. He stumbled, reaching out for the walls, trying to find something tangible, something real. But the apartment resisted. Hallways stretched and bent, doors opened into impossible angles, and corners curled like a living painting. He was no longer certain of his own size, his own weight, or the space that surrounded him. Then he heard it, a soft scraping sound coming from the black doorway at the end of the hall. His pulse quickened. The room where the masks had tormented him before now radiated a strange magnetic pull. His instincts screamed at him to run, but some deep, irrational part of himself drew him forward. Inside the room, the masks were different. Hundreds, maybe thousands of them, hovered in midair, suspended as if by invisible threads. Their hollow eyes glimmered faintly, each one unique yet terrifyingly alive. Some smiled faintly, others twisted in expressions of anguish, horror, or longing. And behind all of them, Molly stood, holding a mask that seemed darker, heavier than any he had seen. "You're awake," she said, her voice calm, almost hypnotic. "Good. We need to continue." Carl's throat was dry. "No, I've had enough. I want out." "You can't leave," she replied. "Not until you understand the collection." The masks shifted subtly, leaning toward him as if acknowledging her words. Carl stepped backward, but the walls of the apartment pulsed, stretching, bending, subtly corralling him toward the center of the room. The air vibrated with the whispering of countless voices, overlapping into a chaotic symphony that rattled his mind. "The collection," Molly said, her voice soft but commanding, "is the heart of this place. Every mask you see holds a person, someone who wanted to change, who wanted to escape, who wanted more, and now they are part of the apartment, part of the process, part of me." Carl's breath hitched. "You mean they're trapped?" "In a way," she said. "Not alive as you understand it, but not gone. Their essence is preserved, contained within the mask. Every fear, every desire, every secret, all recorded, all alive. And now you are becoming one of them." He staggered, panic rising. "Why me? Why can't I just leave?" "Because you asked for it," she said gently. "Every choice you made, every mask you've worn, every part of yourself you hid, led you here. You cannot escape what you are." Carl glanced at the masks surrounding him. Each one seemed to twitch, lean, watch. Faces he recognized, faces he didn't, all alive in some perverse, silent way. Their whispers grew louder, overlapping into a deafening cacophony that rattled his mind. He felt a surge of defiance. "I won't be part of this," he shouted. "I won't!" Molly tilted her head, watching him closely. "Resistance is natural, but futile. The collection waits for those who hesitate, who fear themselves, and it will claim you if you do not embrace it." A mask floated toward him, moving independently of any visible force. Its hollow eyes glimmered with a subtle menace. Carl tried to push it away, but it hovered just out of reach, as if daring him. "They are alive," he whispered. "They can think. They can feel." Molly nodded. "Not in the way you think, but they understand. They are extensions of the apartment, of me, of the process. And they are patient. They wait. They always wait." Carl's mind raced. He tried to think of a way out, a way to fight back, to destroy the masks or escape the apartment. But the very walls seemed to bend, resist, guide him. He was trapped in a maze that was alive, sentient, and aware of every thought, every heartbeat. "Why?" he asked, his voice trembling. "Why do this? Why collect them?" Molly's smile was faint, enigmatic. "Because people are always hiding. They fear their own faces, their own reflections. They wear masks. Some hide behind lies, others behind beauty. The collection is a truth, a preservation of what lies beneath, a reminder that perfection comes at a cost." Carl swallowed hard. The weight of her words pressed on him, suffocating, inescapable. He could feel the perfect skin of his own face shifting subtly, loosening, reshaping. Pain shot through him, sharp but fleeting, as if the very bones under his skin were being molded. "You're not real!" he shouted, swinging at a mask that floated too close. It passed through his hand, the hollow eyes watching, unblinking, unyielding. Molly's voice was everywhere now, calm, omnipresent. "Reality is what you make of it. But you cannot deny what you are becoming. You cannot escape yourself." The masks leaned closer, forming a ring around him. Each one seemed to pulse with life, with memory, with something dark and ancient. Carl felt his own reflection flicker in the mirrors that lined the room, morphing between the flawless image he had become and the terrified, flawed man he had been. He realized then that the collection was not just about the masks. It was about control, about transformation, about surrender. And the cost was his identity, his essence, his very self. Desperation clawed at him. He had to act, to resist, to find a way to reclaim himself. He darted toward the doorway, toward what he hoped was freedom, but the hallway stretched endlessly. Every door led to another corridor, another room filled with masks. The apartment itself was a labyrinth, alive, aware, impossible to navigate. "You cannot run," Molly said softly, appearing beside him, her hands on his shoulders. "You wanted this. You cannot deny it now." Carl shook violently. I didn't ask for this." "You did," she whispered. "Every choice, every desire, every fear led you here. And now you are part of the collection." The masks closed in, whispering, pulsing, alive. Carl stumbled backward, falling to the floor. The room breathed around him, walls contracting, corners folding, the air thick with the scent of wax, perfume, and something metallic, like blood. He lifted his hands to his face. The skin was soft, pliable, shifting beneath his fingers. His reflection in the mirror flickered, morphing into something flawless, unrecognizable, yet intimately familiar. His heartbeat thundered. He screamed, but the sound was swallowed by the thick, pulsing air. Molly knelt beside him, holding the black mask over his face. "Look," she whispered. "See what you've become. See who you really are." Carl gazed into the mask. His face was flawless, smooth, perfect. But the eyes held something else, something not entirely his, something that belonged to her, to the masks, to the apartment itself. He tried to speak, to reclaim himself, but no words came. Only the echo of his own heartbeat, the whispers of the masks and Molly's calm, terrifying presence. And he knew in that moment that there was no escape. The apartment had him, the masks had him, Molly had him. And beneath the flawless skin, the dark, living shadow waited. Carl's mind reeled with the horrifying realization that the collection was endless. There were always more faces to collect, more masks to create, more identities to consume. And he, trapped between his old self and the flawless reflection, had become another prisoner of the collection, another echo in the living, breathing apartment. The masks leaned closer, whispering louder. Carl felt their presence pressing into him, merging with his mind, their memories, their fears, their desires. He was no longer fully himself. He was part of them, part of the collection, part of Molly's creation. And in that dark, suffocating realization he understood the truth. The collection did not just preserve faces, it consumed them. It erased the past, devoured identity, and left only the hollow perfection of skin and reflection. And Carl was only the latest. Carl woke with a start. The apartment was alive again, but it had changed. The walls stretched higher, folding in impossible ways, the shadows pooling in corners that hadn't existed before. Every surface seemed to glimmer faintly, the air heavy with perfume and wax, the whispers of the masks blending into a continuous hum that made his teeth ache. He could feel the pulse of the building beneath his feet, a slow, deliberate rhythm that matched the hammering of his own heart. He stumbled toward the black room, toward the source of the whispers and the living masks. The hallway seemed longer than before, stretching endlessly, the corners bending in on themselves. He could hear faint scraping, soft but deliberate, as if something unseen was moving just beyond his vision. When he reached the black doorway, Molly was waiting. She held a mask in her hands. One of her favorites, Carl thought, black polished wood, expression frozen in a subtle, knowing smile. But something in her posture was different. She seemed older, weary yet infinitely patient. There was a depth in her eyes behind the mask, something he hadn't seen before. A hint of fear, or maybe regret. "You're awake," she said softly, her voice calm, almost hypnotic. "Good. We need to continue." Carl's throat was dry. Why? Why all this? Who are you really? Molly tilted her head, regarding him carefully. I am many things, Carl, but most importantly, I am what the collection made me. I am the keeper, the guide, the creator of the masks. I am the one who preserves the faces, the fears, the desires of those who come here. Carl took a step back, panic rising. The collection. You mean the people trapped in the masks? The ones I saw? Yes, she said softly. They are here, part of the apartment, part of me, part of the process. They are waiting, just as I once waited. He stared at her. You were one of them? Molly nodded. Once. I was like you, flawed, fearful, hiding behind lies, behind my own skin. I came here seeking change, perfection, and I became part of the collection. I learned its secrets, its power. I learned how to guide, how to shape, how to preserve. And now, I guide others like you, who come seeking the same. Carl's mind reeled. So you weren't always like this? No, she said softly. I was human, fragile, imperfect. But the collection transforms. It shapes, it molds, it preserves. It gives power, but at a cost. But at the cost? Carl's voice trembled. What cost? Molly's gaze was steady. Yourself, your identity, your soul, in a sense. When you embrace the mask, when you accept the collection, you become perfect on the surface. Flawless. But the person you were is gone, absorbed, preserved, trapped. And the process repeats. Always, forever. Carl staggered backward. And if I refuse? You become like the others who resisted too long, she said softly. Neither here nor there. Trapped between your old self and what you could have been. Lost, forgotten, waiting. His stomach turned. He could feel the flawless skin of his own face shifting subtly, loosening, reshaping. Pain shot through him, sharp but fleeting, as if the very bones under his skin were being molded. He clawed at his cheeks, desperate to stop the transformation, but the flesh yielded like clay. Molly stepped closer, holding the black mask. It doesn't have to end like that, she said. You can accept the process. You can embrace it. You can survive, even thrive. Carl's mind raced. Survival at what cost? To surrender himself to this madness? To join the collection? Become another mask among countless others? He glanced at the room. The masks hovered silently, their hollow eyes glimmering faintly. Faces he recognized, faces he didn't. All alive in some perverse, silent way. Their whispers blended into a single, insistent chant that seemed to seep into his very bones. Carl's instincts screamed at him to fight, to resist. He tried to move, but the apartment itself resisted, walls bending, corridors folding in ways that defied reality. Every door led to another room filled with masks. He was trapped in a living, breathing maze, guided by Molly and the collection. Why do this? He asked, voice trembling. Why preserve them? Why trap them? Molly's gaze softened, almost wistful. Because people hide behind their masks. They fear themselves, their flaws, their faces. The collection preserves the truth beneath the skin. It immortalizes them, in a way, and it teaches control, mastery, power. Carl shook his head violently. I don't want power. I don't want this. You already have it, she said calmly. In the reflection, in the skin, in the transformation. You are becoming something new, something stronger, something eternal. Carl's hands went to his face. The skin was soft, pliable, shifting beneath his fingers. His reflection in the mirror flickered, morphing into something flawless, unrecognizable, yet intimately familiar. His heartbeat thundered in his ears. He screamed, but the sound was swallowed by the thick, pulsing air. Molly's voice was everywhere now, calm, omnipresent. Only skin deep. Only skin deep. Only skin deep. Carl staggered, staggering backward, trying to find solid ground, trying to reclaim himself. The masks leaned closer, forming a circle around him, their hollow eyes glimmering with anticipation. Why do you guide them? He demanded. Why not free them? Molly's eyes behind the mask held a flicker of something he had never seen. sadness, perhaps regret, or a trace of the woman she had once been. "Because the collection chooses," she said softly. "It needs a guide. Someone who has walked the path, who has seen the transformation, who can shepherd the next. I am that someone. And now, you must decide. Resist or embrace." Carl's mind raced. He could feel the masks pressing closer, the whispers infiltrating his thoughts, tugging at his fears, his desires, his very identity. He was trapped between the man he had been and the flawless reflection he had become. In that moment of clarity, he realized something terrifying. Molly had not always been the keeper. She had once been a victim, like him. She had surrendered, embraced, and transformed. And now, she wielded the power of the collection, guiding others into the same trap. Carl's heart pounded. He had to resist. He could not become another mask, another whisper, another prisoner in this living nightmare. But the apartment itself seemed to resist him. Walls bending, ceilings lowering, shadows thickening. Molly stepped closer, holding the black mask before him. "It's time," she said softly. "Embrace it. Accept the collection. Become perfect, or remain lost forever." Carl hesitated, trembling. The mask pulsed subtly, alive, calling to him. His reflection in the mirror flickered between the terrified man he had been and the flawless, perfect face he could become. Desperation clawed at him. He had to find a way to resist, to reclaim himself, to escape the grip of the apartment, the masks, and Molly. He lunged forward, knocking the mask from her hands. It spun through the air and clattered to the floor, landing with a hollow, resonant sound that echoed through the room. The masks around him trembled, their whispers rising to a deafening chorus. Molly's voice was calm, unwavering. "You cannot escape. You cannot deny yourself. The collection is eternal. It waits. It always waits." Carl's mind raced. He had to act, to find a flaw, a weakness, a way to disrupt the collection, to free himself from this living nightmare. He glanced at the masks surrounding him, searching for any hint of vulnerability. And then he saw it. One mask, slightly ajar, a faint crack along the cheek. Behind it, a flicker of something human, a glimpse of the person trapped inside. He realized, with a jolt, that the masks were not invincible. They were vessels, fragile in ways that could be exploited. Carl's heart pounded with renewed determination. He would not surrender. He would not become another whisper, another shadow, another mask. He would fight. He would resist. But the apartment itself seemed to sense his resolve. The walls pulsed, corners bent, and the masks leaned closer, their hollow eyes glimmering with subtle menace. Molly stepped forward, calm and patient, holding another mask in her hands. "You cannot win, Carl," she whispered. "The collection is eternal. You are already part of it, whether you accept it or not. But you can try. You can resist. It is part of the process." Carl's hands went to his face. The flawless skin seemed to tighten, shifting, reshaping. Pain shot through him, sharp but fleeting. He gritted his teeth and forced himself to focus, to fight, to resist the pull of perfection, the allure of the masks, the suffocating presence of Molly. And in that moment, he understood the stakes. If he failed, he would be another prisoner, another mask, another whisper in the endless chorus of the collection. But if he succeeded, perhaps he could disrupt it, escape it, reclaim himself. Carl took a deep breath, steadying himself. The masks around him hovered, tense, waiting. Molly's eyes, behind the mask, glimmered with something he couldn't read. Curiosity, anticipation, perhaps even respect. He knew what he had to do. Carl's heart pounded as he assessed the room. The masks hovered silently, their hollow eyes glimmering faintly in the dim light. Each one seemed aware of his thoughts, reading his intentions, waiting for him to falter. The black mask Molly had held earlier lay on the floor, its polished surface reflecting the faint light. Behind it, a tiny crack glimmered, the weakness he had noticed moments ago. He swallowed hard. He had no illusions about what he was up against. The apartment itself was alive, bending and breathing with awareness. The masks were extensions of Molly's will, countless faces trapped, watching, waiting, and Molly was the architect of this nightmare. Yet, for the first time, Carl sensed a crack in her absolute control, a hint that perhaps even she was vulnerable. He moved slowly, deliberately, toward the cracked mask. The walls pulsed and stretched, shadows curling like living fingers trying to impede him. But he forced himself forward. Every step was deliberate, every movement calculated. The masks leaned closer, whispering faintly, their voices merging into a low, hypnotic chant. Molly appeared behind him, her presence immediate and unavoidable. "Carl," she said softly, calm and patient as ever, "what do you think you're doing?" Carl didn't answer. He ignored her, focusing on the mask. He reached out, his hand trembling, and lifted it. The polished wood was smooth under his fingers, yet the crack seemed to hum with energy. He felt something faint, almost imperceptible, the trapped essence of the face inside. It trembled under his touch, fragile, imperfect. "You can't," Molly whispered. "You cannot disrupt the collection. You are already part of it. You cannot win." Carl's jaw tightened. "Maybe I don't have to win," he said, his voice low but resolute. "Maybe I just have to survive." Molly's eyes behind her mask flickered. He saw something new there. Recognition. Perhaps even a hint of respect. "You think you understand it, but you don't. The collection cannot be undone. The masks cannot be broken. You will become one with them." Carl exhaled, steadying himself. He pressed the cracked mask against his face, careful not to trigger the living essence inside. The instant he did, the room shifted. The walls pulsed, the shadows writhed, and the other masks tilted toward him as if sensing the intrusion. He felt a surge of energy, alien and overwhelming, seeping into his mind. The whispers of the collection grew louder, almost deafening, but he focused on the crack, on the imperfection that could be exploited. Molly stepped closer, raising another mask. "Stop," she said softly. "You don't understand. The collection, it's eternal. Resistance only prolongs the inevitable." Carl ignored her, placing the cracked mask carefully on a nearby pedestal. He whispered under his breath, testing his focus. The mask quivered, its hollow eyes flickering, the trapped essence inside reacting to his presence. He could feel the subtle weaknesses in the structure, the way the trapped spirits shifted, delicate, fragile, almost human. "You don't belong here," Carl said aloud, voice echoing through the room. "I refuse to be just another mask. I refuse to be part of this prison." Molly's lips curved in a faint, almost wistful smile. "Bold," she said softly, "but foolish. You cannot fight the apartment. You cannot fight the collection. You cannot fight me." Carl's fingers traced the crack, feeling the subtle vibrations. Then, with deliberate force, he pressed inward. A sharp, resonant sound echoed through the room. Wood splitting, the mask quivering violently. The whispers of the other masks surged, overlapping, chaotic, frightened. The crack widened, and for the first time Carl felt the essence inside stir, alive, almost grateful. Molly's eyes widened. "No," she whispered, you cannot." But Carl ignored her. He pressed harder, feeling the energy of the trapped face ripple outward, resonating with the other masks. The apartment groaned, walls bending and pulsing violently. Shadows twisted, pulling at him, trying to stop him, but he held firm. Then something remarkable happened. The masks around him began to quiver, subtly at first, then violently. The hollow eyes flickered, the expressions shifting. Some twisted in horror, some smiled faintly, and others seemed alive. The whispers became chaotic, overlapping into a deafening chorus. Carl realized he had found the key. The masks were vessels, fragile, imperfect. The collection was not absolute. It was eternal, yes, but susceptible to disruption if one could exploit the vulnerabilities of the vessels themselves. Molly's calm demeanor faltered. For the first time, Carl saw fear in her eyes. "You don't know what you're doing," she shouted, raising a mask toward him. "You cannot control it. You will destroy yourself." Carl gritted his teeth. "Then let it destroy what it must. I will not be consumed." He pressed harder on the cracked mask, feeling the trapped essence stir violently, resonating with the others. A wave of energy pulsed through the room, shaking the walls, bending the shadows, forcing the other masks to wobble. Carl felt a rush of power, alien but exhilarating, coursing through his body. The apartment groaned, the walls bending, folding, reshaping. Molly struggled to maintain control, her voice rising over the chaotic whispers. "Stop it! You don't know the consequences!" Carl focused, steadying his mind. "I don't care," he said. "I will not be part of your collection." The black mask shattered, splintering into pieces. A wave of energy exploded outward, reverberating through the room. The other masks trembled violently, their whispers rising to a deafening pitch. Shadows twisted, the walls pulsed, and the apartment seemed to convulse with life. Molly stumbled, losing her composure for the first time. Her hands trembled as she tried to regain control, but the chaos was too much. The masks wavered, some collapsing, some flickering with unstable energy. Carl realized he had done the impossible. He had disrupted the collection, at least temporarily. He stumbled backward, breathing hard, staring at the fragmented black mask. The trapped essence inside shimmered faintly, then seemed to dissipate, freed from the vessel. Carl felt a surge of relief, but also an awareness of the danger still present. The apartment was alive, Molly was powerful, and the collection was not defeated. "You think this changes anything?" Molly said, her voice trembling with controlled anger. "The collection is eternal. You may have disrupted one mask, but there are thousands more. You cannot escape it. You cannot win." Carl shook his head. "Maybe not," he said, "but I've learned something. I've learned that it's not invincible, that it can be challenged, that I can resist." The masks around him began to wobble, flicker, some collapsing into lifeless fragments, others quivering with unstable energy. The apartment groaned, bending and reshaping, reacting to the disruption. Carl realized that he had found leverage, a way to fight, a way to reclaim his identity. Molly's expression hardened. "You are defiant," she said softly. "But defiance has its price. Are you willing to pay it?" Carl's hands went to his flawless face. The skin shimmered, shifting, reminding him of the transformation he had already undergone. He was no longer fully himself, but he still had control, still had awareness, still had choice. "I will pay whatever it takes," he said, voice firm. "I will not become another mask. I will not be consumed by this apartment. I will reclaim myself." Molly's eyes, behind the mask, flickered with something unreadable. Respect? Concern? Perhaps even fear. She raised another mask, dark and polished, expression neutral. "Then we shall see," she whispered. "We shall see how far your defiance carries you." Carl steadied himself, feeling the pulse of the apartment beneath his feet, the whisper of the remaining masks around him. He knew the battle was far from over, but he had discovered something crucial. The collection was not invincible. It could be challenged, disrupted, resisted. And he would fight, tooth and nail, to reclaim his identity and escape this living nightmare. The apartment pulsed, shadows twisted, and Molly advanced. The masks floated, quivering, alive and unstable. Carl raised his hands, prepared to fight, prepared to resist, prepared to reclaim himself from the living nightmare that threatened to consume him entirely. The reckoning had begun. Carl's breath came in short, ragged bursts. The apartment was alive, each wall pulsating with a heartbeat that seemed to mirror his own. Shadows twisted across the floor, forming grotesque shapes that reached for him, trying to drag him down into the living darkness. Yet he moved forward, resolute, focused, each step deliberate. He had discovered the fragility of the masks, the imperfection in the collection, and now he intended to exploit it to its fullest. Molly hovered nearby, silent, watching him. The black mask she had wielded earlier lay in fragments on the floor, yet her hands now held another, equally polished, expressionless vessel. Her eyes behind the mask were calm but piercing, a predator assessing its prey. "You think you can disrupt the collection?" she said softly. "You have tasted its fragility, yes, but the collection is eternal. You are merely one who resists, and resistance has consequences." Carl shook his head, I've learned more than that. I've learned that it can be challenged, that it can be disrupted. And I will not be consumed. Not now, not ever. The room pulsed, the air thick with whispered voices. Masks hovered all around him, eyes glowing faintly. Faces he recognized and some he didn't, each filled with longing, fear, and silent rage. The whispers merged into a chorus, echoing inside his skull. Submit, surrender, become part. Carl ignored them. He focused on the subtle imperfections he had discovered in the masks. Each one was a vessel, fragile, tethered to the apartment and to Molly's will. If he could disrupt enough of them simultaneously, he might be able to create an opening, a breach through which the trapped identities could be freed. He lunged toward the nearest mask, placing his hand over a faint crack he had noticed. The instant he did, a pulse of energy surged outward, resonating through the room. The mask trembled violently, and the whispers from the other masks rose to a deafening pitch. Shadows twisted and writhed, as if in agony. Molly moved instantly, her hands raised, a dark, polished mask hovering before her. "Stop it!" she commanded, her voice cutting through the cacophony. "You don't understand the forces you are tampering with. One wrong move." But Carl didn't stop. He pressed harder, feeling the trapped essence inside the mask shift, alive, aware, responding to his touch. A ripple of energy pulsed through the surrounding masks, destabilizing them. Some trembled, others cracked, and a few collapsed into lifeless fragments. The room shuddered, and the walls seemed to scream in response to the disruption. "You can't control this," Molly shouted, advancing. "You will destroy yourself." Carl gritted his teeth. "Then so be it. I will not become one of your prisoners." He moved swiftly from mask to mask, pressing on cracks, exploiting weaknesses, feeling the subtle pulse of energy inside each vessel. The masks quivered violently, the trapped identities shifting in reaction to his interference. The apartment groaned, walls bending, shadows twisting, corners folding impossibly. The whispering chorus became a cacophony of fear, pain, and silent hope. Molly's calm demeanor began to falter. She stepped closer, wielding mask after mask in an attempt to regain control. "You don't know what you're doing," she shouted, her voice laced with genuine panic. "You will unleash forces beyond your understanding. You could be trapped forever." Carl's hands were steady despite the chaos. He pressed, twisted, disrupted, feeling the energy of the collection respond violently. The masks teetered, some cracking completely, some shattering, their hollow eyes flickering as the trapped essence within shimmered, freed from their vessels. The apartment pulsed wildly, walls stretching and folding, shadows clawing at him in fury, but Carl pushed forward. Every mask he disrupted sent a wave of energy outward, destabilizing the remaining vessels. He realized he had found leverage, a way to tip the balance, to reclaim control even in the heart of the living nightmare. Molly's voice rose above the chaos, sharp, commanding, tinged with desperation. "Stop! You don't understand. You will destroy the collection. You will destroy me." Carl paused for a moment, realizing she was vulnerable now. She had mastered the collection, yes, but she was tethered to it, bound to the masks, reliant on the vessels for her own power. If he could destabilize enough of the masks simultaneously, he might weaken her, sever her influence, and create a path to freedom. He pressed on, moving faster now, exploiting every crack, every subtle imperfection, destabilizing mask after mask. The whispers of the collection grew frantic, chaotic, overlapping into a deafening roar that rattled the very air. The apartment shuddered, walls twisting, ceilings lowering, floors rippling like water. Shadows writhed violently, reaching for him, but he was focused, relentless. Molly's calm facade shattered entirely. She lunged toward him, mask in hand, but the room reacted violently to her intrusion. One of the destabilized masks cracked entirely, sending a surge of energy through the apartment. Molly stumbled, her hold on the collection weakening for the first time. Carl seized the moment. He lunged forward, pressing on several cracked masks simultaneously, channeling his focus into the disruption. The room exploded with energy, shadows twisting violently, walls bending in impossible angles. The whispering chorus became a scream, deafening, chaotic, yet strangely harmonious, as if the trapped identities were finally being released. Molly tried to maintain control, but the surge was too powerful. The masks around her trembled, some collapsing entirely, others flickering violently. Her voice rang out sharp and desperate. "Carl, stop! You're going too far!" But Carl did not stop. He pressed harder, focusing on the energy of the cracks, exploiting the imperfections. The trapped identities shimmered, shifting, resonating with him. He realized with a jolt that they were aware, alive in their own way, responding to his will. A wave of light exploded outward from the center of the room. The apartment groaned, twisting violently. The masks trembled, some collapsing completely, some flickering with unstable energy. Shadows writhed, clawing at the walls, the floors, the ceiling, as if resisting the release. Carl felt a surge of energy pass through him, alien but invigorating. He could sense the trapped identities within the masks, each one freed from its vessel, resonating with him. Faces he had seen before shimmered, their hollow eyes now filled with faint light, flickering with awareness and gratitude. Molly stumbled, losing her composure entirely. "You don't understand," she shouted, voice breaking. "You cannot control it. You cannot." Carl stepped closer, hands steady, voice firm. "I understand enough," he said. "Enough to know I will not be consumed. Enough to know you cannot control me or them anymore. You cannot hold them forever." The masks around her quivered violently. She tried to stabilize them, to assert control, but the energy Carl unleashed was too strong. The collection trembled, teetering on the edge of collapse. The apartment groaned, walls folding, shadows twisting, corners collapsing. Carl moved closer to Molly, focusing on the last few intact masks tethered to her. With deliberate force, he pressed on the cracks, exploiting their instability. The energy surged outward, a wave of light and power that bathed the room. The masks trembled, then shattered, their essence finally released. Molly stumbled backward, her hands trembling, mask after mask slipping from her grasp. The apartment convulsed violently, but Carl remained focused, grounded, channeling the surge of energy. The trapped identities shimmered, flickering like stars, freed from the vessels that had imprisoned them for so long. Their whispers, once chaotic and demanding, became harmonious, singing in unison, a chorus of liberation. Carl felt a strange warmth pass through him, a connection to the freed identities. They were alive, aware, grateful. And in that moment, he realized the true power of the collection. Not domination, not control, but the potential for redemption, for liberation, for reclaiming what had been lost. Molly sank to her knees, exhausted, powerless. The last mask slipped from her hands and shattered. The apartment trembled one final time, then grew still. The shadows receded, the walls straightened, and the air cleared. Carl stood, breathing hard, surveying the room. The masks were gone. The trapped identities shimmered faintly in the corners of the apartment, aware, free, yet tethered to the place in a subtle, harmonious way. Molly's mask lay in fragments at her feet, her face exposed for the first time. She looked human, fragile, vulnerable, and strangely relieved. "You did it," she whispered, voice barely audible. "You freed them." Carl shook his head. "I didn't do it alone. They helped me. They wanted to be free." Molly's eyes glistened. I never imagined it could be done. The collection. I thought it was eternal. I thought nothing could challenge it." Carl stepped forward, extending a hand. "It is eternal, but even eternal things can change. Freedom is possible, if you have the courage to seize it." For the first time, Molly hesitated, then took his hand. The weight of the masks, the apartment, the collection, all of it, seemed to lift slightly, as if acknowledging the shift. The shadows receded further, and the air grew lighter, less oppressive. Carl took a deep breath. The apartment was still alive, still aware, but no longer hostile. The masks were gone, their essence free. Molly looked at him, her expression a mix of awe, relief, and something else. Gratitude, perhaps even hope. "You've changed everything," she whispered. I don't know what comes next." Carl shook his head. Neither do I, but we'll figure it out. Together. And in that moment, for the first time since he had entered the living nightmare of the apartment, Carl felt something he hadn't felt in a long time, hope. The collection had been challenged. The masks had been disrupted. And though the apartment was still alive, still aware, Carl knew that he had reclaimed himself and freed countless others in the process. The reckoning was over. The apartment was quiet now, but the silence was fragile, a delicate pause between storms. Carl stepped carefully across the polished floor, feeling the lingering pulse of energy beneath his feet. Shadows lingered in corners, not threatening but watching, curious, waiting. The masks were gone, yet their essence lingered faintly in the air, shimmering like distant stars. The apartment had survived the assault, but it had changed, subtly, unpredictably, like a living organism adapting after trauma. Molly moved beside him, her expression unreadable, her hands brushing over fragments of shattered masks. I never thought it could happen, she said softly. Her voice carried awe, disbelief, and a hint of fear. The collection. It's supposed to be eternal, immutable. Yet you did it. Carl exhaled, trying to steady his trembling hands. It wasn't just me. The trapped, they helped. They wanted freedom. They gave me the leverage I needed. Molly nodded slowly. I guided them, I shaped them, but I never truly understood the depth of their desire to be free. I thought I was preserving them, protecting them. But perhaps I was only preserving my own sense of control. The apartment seemed to react to her words. The walls shifted subtly, corners folding and stretching as if listening, absorbing, responding. Shadows lingered longer in some places, then receded, coalescing into faint glimmers of light. The pulse of energy beneath their feet was irregular, unpredictable, as if the building itself were reconsidering its boundaries. Carl glanced around, wary. Do you think it's safe? Molly shook her head. Safe? No. Nothing about this place is safe, but it is quieter now, less insistent. It has been destabilized. Its control over the trapped faces, over the essence, has been fractured. And with that fracture, the apartment itself is vulnerable, unpredictable. Carl's gaze swept the room. The floor beneath them was solid but pulsed faintly. Shadows clung to the corners but were no longer aggressive. He could sense a new energy, a kind of resonance from the freed identities, subtle but powerful, like whispers of life weaving through the space. Do you think they'll stay? He asked. The ones we freed? Molly's eyes flickered, thoughtful. Some will linger, some will move on. The apartment has a memory, a consciousness of its own. The freed ones are part of it now in a different way. Not imprisoned, but present, aware, guiding the space toward equilibrium. Others may find new forms, new vessels, new lives outside these walls. Carl nodded slowly. He could feel their presence, not in the way of being trapped, but in a new, subtle resonance that hummed beneath his skin. It was peaceful, not threatening, as though the freed identities had chosen to stay close, not out of necessity, but out of trust. For the first time, Carl noticed the apartment reacting to Molly in ways he hadn't before. The shadows surrounding her flickered nervously. The air around her seemed heavier, almost hesitant. He realized that the same destabilization that had freed the masks had also weakened Molly's authority. She was still powerful, still tied to the apartment, but she was no longer the absolute master of the space. Molly noticed it too. She ran a hand along the wall, feeling the subtle pulse beneath the surface. I feel unmoored, she admitted. The collection is gone. The masks are gone, and without them, I am less than I was. My control is fractured. Carl's instincts sharpened. You're vulnerable now? She hesitated. Yes, she said quietly. But that doesn't mean I'm defeated. I am still part of this. Still tied to the essence, the energy of the apartment. I've guided it for so long, shaped it, lived within it. I am not gone, but yes, I am vulnerable. The walls pulsed again, softly this time, a gentle rhythm rather than the oppressive, insistent pounding from before. Shadows flickered but did not reach for them. Carl realized that while the collection's power had been disrupted, the apartment itself was alive, aware, and cautious. It had survived the assault, but it would adapt to the new reality. Unpredictable, ungovernable. "We should leave," Carl said cautiously, glancing toward the hallway that led to the exit. "It's changed, yes, but we don't know what else it can do." Molly nodded. "Yes, but leaving is complicated now. The space, it is aware of you. It recognizes your role in the disruption. The apartment will not simply let you walk away. It will test you, challenge you, even in subtle ways. It has been unbalanced, but it is still alive." Carl exhaled, bracing himself. "Then we face it together?" Molly's gaze met his, steady, unflinching. "Together," she said. They moved carefully down the hallway. The walls pulsed faintly, stretching, folding, but they did not impede them. Shadows flickered in peripheral vision, hesitant, observing. Carl could sense the subtle resistance, the apartment testing them, gauging their intentions. He kept his focus, channeling the determination that had fueled his assault on the collection. As they walked, Carl noticed faint glimmers of light in corners where shadows had previously gathered. The freed identities were present, aware, guiding the space subtly, preventing it from collapsing entirely. The apartment had changed, and with that change came a strange kind of equilibrium. Delicate, unstable, but present. "Do you feel that?" Molly asked, her voice quiet. "The apartment is aware of us, yes, but it is also cautious, hesitant. It knows we have disrupted its authority. It knows the collection is gone, and with that, it hesitates to act against us directly." Carl nodded. "It's like a predator wounded. Still dangerous, but wary." Molly gave a small, wry smile. "A fitting analogy, and we must remain vigilant. The apartment is still alive, still aware, still capable of subtle influence, but we have shifted the balance. We have broken the chain of control, and that is significant." They reached the doorway leading to the outside hallway. The air beyond it felt lighter, less oppressive. Carl hesitated, glancing back at the apartment, sensing the lingering presence of the freed identities, the subtle pulse of energy beneath the walls, the watchful, cautious gaze of the living space. "You changed it," Molly said quietly, almost reverently. "You challenged it, disrupted it, freed the trapped ones, and you survived. Few could do what you've done." Carl shook his head. "I didn't do it alone. The freed, they helped. They guided me. They wanted freedom." Molly's eyes glistened. "Yes, they did. And now the apartment must adapt to that choice. The balance is new, unpredictable, perhaps even hopeful." Carl glanced at her, curiosity mixed with caution. "Hopeful for the apartment?" She nodded slowly. "In its own strange way. The space has always been alive, yes, but it has never known cooperation, collaboration, liberation. Now, it must learn, adapt, respond to freedom, not just control, and that is a new experience for it, for all of us." They stepped carefully into the hallway, the apartment behind them still alive, its pulse faint but perceptible. Shadows lingered, observing, hesitant. The freed identities shimmered in corners, subtle, silent, aware, yet no longer trapped. The atmosphere was tense but calm, balanced delicately between past control and future possibility. Carl exhaled, relief washing over him, but tempered by the awareness that the apartment was still alive, still aware, still capable of subtle influence. It had been destabilized, yes, but it was not destroyed. He and Molly would have to remain cautious, respectful, and vigilant in the face of its unpredictable power. Molly stepped beside him, her expression thoughtful. "We have changed much," she said quietly. "The masks are gone. The collection is fractured, but the apartment, it is still alive, and it will test us always." Carl nodded. "Then we adapt, too, together." She smiled. Mild and faintly. "Together." The hallway stretched before them, light filtering faintly from the far end. Carl could sense the pulse of life within the apartment behind them, subtle but present, aware but cautious. The freed identities shimmered faintly, their presence a constant reminder of the balance they had shifted. As they moved forward, Carl realized that the struggle was not over. The apartment was alive, and it would continue to challenge, to test, to influence. But they had reclaimed their agency. They had disrupted the collection, freed the trapped, and faced the architect of the nightmare herself. And in doing so, they had discovered that even in the heart of the darkest, most controlling spaces, freedom and resilience could prevail. Carl exhaled deeply, a sense of cautious hope settling over him. The apartment was still alive, still unpredictable, still powerful, but they had learned its vulnerabilities, had confronted its master, and had shifted the balance in ways previously unimaginable. And for the first time in what felt like an eternity, Carl allowed himself to believe that survival, and even liberation, was possible. The apartment was quieter now, but that quiet was fragile, like a thin membrane stretched over a void. Carl walked cautiously, feeling the subtle pulse of energy beneath the floorboards. The freed identities lingered in corners, flickering faintly, their presence almost imperceptible, yet undeniably there. Shadows no longer reached for him, but they shifted when he moved, curious, testing, observing. The collection had been shattered, but remnants remained. Fragments of masks, shards of energy, echoes of what had once been absolute control. Molly followed closely, her expression somber. "Even though we disrupted the collection," she said softly, "some pieces remain, fragments of the masks, traces of the trapped identities. They linger. The apartment hasn't fully let go." Carl nodded. He felt them too, faint, erratic pulses of energy that twitched unpredictably along the walls. He could sense the essence of the collection, destabilized but not destroyed, lurking in the periphery. Some of the freed identities had moved on, but others seemed drawn back, curious, tethered to the space despite their liberation. "Do you think they're dangerous?" he asked, his voice low. Molly shook her head. "Not intentionally. They're residual echoes, remnants of what was, but they are unpredictable. The apartment has been destabilized. It's learning to adapt to freedom, but that adaptation is uneven. The remnants could manifest in ways we don't expect." Carl's eyes narrowed. "Like new masks?" "Possibly," Molly said. "Or illusions, or subtle manipulations. The apartment is alive, aware. Even fragments carry power. Even fragments can influence perception, behavior, thought. We have to be careful." They moved through the apartment, stepping carefully over shattered pieces of black polish, fragments of hollow eyes and faint glimmers of energy. Carl felt a strange pull, a magnetic tug from one corner where the shadows clustered unnaturally. He paused, staring. Molly noticed his hesitation. "What is it?" she asked. Carl swallowed, unease creeping in. "Something. It's residual. It's like a fragment trying to coalesce. Not a full mask, not a full presence, but part of one. It's aware of me." Molly's expression darkened. "Then it's one of the remnants.